I have had someone.
No.
I can't.
Wait, really?
I have had someone. It's the cardinal sin if you're on the dance floor.
To walk off.
You do not leave your partner.
But that's fine.
You can leave your partner.
We were dancing and I could see in my peripheral vision that there was sweat. And it was just hanging on the nose. And I was like, it's gonna drip. It's gonna drip on me. Welcome back.
Hi.
Glad to be here.
Yes.
Excited to talk some more about tango.
Yes.
But first, I think we had a question.
Excited and nervous because of this question that I hope to address here today. So someone has already asked us to dive a little bit deeper into something that might be a bit vulnerable. So this person shared that very early in their tango career, they they received very nice compliments that helped them. That was a huge reason for why they kept coming back to tango because they were at a place where they're starting to feel discouraged. And they're so grateful for that and would love to hear about our experiences, who or what influenced us when things got tough.
That is such a great question.
Yeah.
You go first.
Oh, okay. I guess first it's understanding, I think for each of us, what it means to be in a tough spot in tango might look a little bit differently.
Yeah.
For me, it was a lot about feeling acknowledged for my ability to dance.
Yeah.
Maybe hits a little bit. So I think at some point you talked about confidence and actual competence.
Yes.
And I am sure there was a moment where I felt like, okay, I can do this. I can follow. I have, this background that I came in and helped accelerate my journey a little bit in the beginning. But it still wasn't translating on the dance floor. I still wasn't able to get the dances. And even still, it was like I could see the other people that might have been chosen over me. And I was just like, I know I'm not great at that point, but come on. Like, this is someone that's still at a very early age in tango, which is also great as well. No shade at all on that. But it just felt like, and I questioned it a lot. I was like, is it because I'm Black? I was usually the only Black person in a lot of my spaces. And if you're in a space where it's all about being social, engaging with the people that sometimes you find attractive, I struggled with that for a very long time, wanting to feel attracted in the space that I was spending a lot of my social time in.
Yeah.
And I think, and then also like being recognized or acknowledged for wherever I was at that moment in time. And I think there were a few key people along the way that helps me to stay grounded. I didn't mean it. It just came out. But it makes sense. They helped me to stay grounded and to find very tactical ways to reach my goals. I think there are several people. There's some very, very beautiful close friends of mine very early on. In the Michigan area, you know who you are. And, they help me to feel accepted. They open their arms, their home, their other friends to me. And as goofy and quirky and very different I was from them, they accepted me for me as I was in that time. And that helps me to be a lot more free and be comfortable with where I was. And so I think the first piece there is whenever we can, let's help everybody around us that is possible within our scope to feel comfortable being themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's so important.
Yes.
And then moving on, that was good, but it still wasn't I was feeling better about the people I was around, but I still wasn't getting on the dance floor. And it wasn't until this teacher, we danced socially and I was not anywhere near his level, but he found something in me that he enjoyed and he expressed that and he sort of created the dance to that effect. So I also felt strong and confident in what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it's so nice when you can connect with someone who's, let's say your levels are very different, but you both find something to enjoy together. And that showed, and many people started to ask me after that, right? But also he helped me to realize that how important it is to find something, anything. It doesn't have to be the technique. It doesn't have to be the musicality. It can just be the energy that someone brings to the dance. Um, tease that out some more. And then tell someone, verbally articulate it, because sometimes we don't know. We don't always read the cues, the way that they're given.
Yeah.
And so just verbally telling someone, I love when you do this. I really enjoy doing this thing with you in the dance. It's so cool. It's so interesting. That goes such a long way, clearly, to the person who posted, which is also a friend of mine. But that was also done to me very early on, and huge help.
Yeah.
And it's just, there were some people also too who, let's say, took a chance, and it just helped me to have that confidence in myself that then changed how I walked, how my posture was, how I accepted a rejection, for instance, which changed my whole outlook from that moment on. So there were a few key people out there that if it wasn't for them, I would have a very, I think, jaded outlook, and I probably would have stopped dancing tango.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for the love and support.
Yeah, I love that. And I think back on some of the things that kept me engaged, and definitely in the very beginning, it was receiving positive feedback when I was getting something, or people felt it was enjoyable and it was really kind. It was also the people that came over to talk that they were like, that's a new face. Let me go introduce myself. I'm a member of Rotary here in Vienna, and that is like one of the club culture is, if you see a face that you don't know, we aggressively go and say hi. And there are some people that are just beacons of light in our community that do that. And I think if we all did it, everybody would feel included, and we would retain a lot more people, actually. But there was an experience I had that was kind of on the opposite end. I think like I had been dancing a little while, maybe a year and a half, something like that, maybe 2 years. And I went to a seminar with a teacher, very well known, a rock star. He is a rock star, and he is wonderful. Okay. And, this was a big festival, and you can see it at the big festivals that lead or follow these big teachers have people staring at them all night long, right? And that doesn't mean that they're dancing all night long, because they're not necessarily open to dancing with everybody. And the seminar was about why I choose to dance with people I dance with, right? Why I dance with the follows that I dance with. And so there were a lot of people there. It was almost all follows. And what he explained to us during the seminar was that he usually doesn't choose to dance with a brand new beginner because he knows that she's going to be so anxious to be dancing with him that it's not that it's not an enjoyable experience for him. It's that she's not going to have a good time, right? And maybe if she's looking to get notches on the belt of like, oh, I dance with these people, maybe she will. But in that moment, I was like, oh, this is a choice on both sides, right? And ironically, I found myself in the position, I think like a week later, that a maestro asked me to dance. And I did dance because I didn't want to say no. But in my head, I was like, oh no, I am going to be way too anxious for this. And in fact, like to this day, if I find somebody intimidating or I have such a great level of respect, I am not going to try to dance with them, because I know that my whole body is just going to be so anxious that it's really not going to be a good experience. So I think that was really instrumental in helping me shift my perspective and say, oh, actually, I don't have to go and aggressively pursue all of the who I perceive to be the best dancers. Like, that's not what it's about. It's just about having an enjoyable experience in this embrace. And I want to dance with people that I feel comfortable dancing with. I think that was really pivotal. And then, of course, like the teachers that gave great feedback, I think teachers, maybe they don't remember the influence and the power they have sometimes, and that like a kind word goes a long way.
Or even, I had one teacher tell me, I was taking a private, and they said, You're pretty good, actually. Just go, and you just need more flying. What did he say? Flying space. What is it called when you just need to just go out there and just dance more? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, I paid for the hour. What do you mean? Tell me like where my hip and my knees need to go. But I kid you not, I took that advice to heart, and I started going to every marathon,
Yeah.
and every event, every festival. And after a while, you start to build the muscle memory. You start to build like
Yes.
the experience. And I was like, okay, I see what they mean
Yes.
now, because there's only so much the teacher can always teach you. You have to
You have to get the
experience it.
miles. Yeah.
Yes. He's
Yeah.
like, you need more flying miles.
Yes. Yeah. What about you, John? Is there anything that like really stands out from when you started?
There are quite a few. There's just small moments and like individuals that I've met um, in my memory that kind of stand out, that really motivated me to keep going. There was one time I was dancing in Philadelphia, and I knew that there was a teacher there sitting down watching me dance. I didn't know him, and I hit this tiny little syncopation in the music, and I could hear him. He just said, "Nice," and that was it. Like that was like I could leave right now, and that would be good. Like the validation is great. And then there were also one of my best friends in Tango. Shout out Eleonora. She came into town. We danced, and then we kind of just really hit it off. And then we ended up going out to a diner and like chatting for hours about organizing and how we got started dancing. And it was just really inspirational. And I felt really motivated to keep sort of pursuing this. It was a great moment. So stuff like that, kind of small moments.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. It's interesting that like teeny tiny little
Mm,
things
yeah.
can have such a big impact, right?
Yeah.
And you don't really know. Or maybe you make one comment and then you end up married. I will just throw this out here. John knows exactly what I'm talking about.
What was the comment?
We were at Element. We were friends, and we danced. And I remember it was solo tango, and the music was
I remember dancing
beautiful.
to solo tango elements.
And it was the energy was like it was just suspended just right. And we finished a set, and I looked at him, and we weren't dating. We were just friends. We were just dancing. And I said, "You're wonderful." And that man was like, "Wait, what did that mean?" And I really think that is part of the reason that like
It opened the door.
it opened the door.
You
And I
never
meant
know.
it. I meant that his musicality was wonderful.
John
And I,
did all
to
that.
this day, like I still think his musicality is absolutely wonderful. But I was just lost, like listening to the way he heard the music was so beautiful. So you never know. You never know
I love
one
it.
comment.
Let's be kind to each. Let's say
Yes.
what we feel
Yeah.
when it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just lift other people up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just feedback. I think it's one of those things in even in my day, my 9 to 5, I find that a lot of people feel anxiety about almost everything, right? And and I work in a space that it's quite vulnerable in photographing people, right? And just giving verbal feedback that they're doing well, sincere feedback, but verbal feedback makes people feel so much more at ease and that they want to come back and do it again, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing in tango. And I will say as a newer leader, it's the thing I struggle the most with. I can't tell if people enjoy dancing with me.
Mhm.
And I know we've talked about this before, but it's like if you just give a little like, oh, I enjoyed this piece, right? It's because otherwise you don't realize that leaders sometimes might not know. They just like it's a different experience. So
You need to calibrate.
yeah.
And it doesn't mean to just it has to be authentic. Otherwise, I think the
Yeah.
person will also feel that is not
Yeah.
if it's not authentic. It's finding the thing that you truly believe
Yes.
about that experience with the
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, let's dive into kind of the things we wish we had known as a beginner.
Mm.
Now that we're farther into the journey.
Can we remember that far back? No. I don't know if I could. I think now that I've started to lead more,
Mhm.
I've been brought back to the space of being
Yes.
new again in tango.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is really and truly believing when, okay, so I will speak biasly for the leaders. When followers say, I really just want to walk, I really just enjoy the simple steps,
Yes.
we really do mean it.
Yeah.
And I say that because I've said that. And then I was on the leader side and I heard people say that. I'm like, yeah, but is that really true?
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've simplified things, I've stopped trying to do so much all the time.
Yeah.
It it it's worked wonders.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think it's okay to the 2, 3 little steps that make that feel amazing.
Yes.
It's hard. Like I'll call out my husband here because he's coming from the salsa bachata world, and he's like, I need to know more steps. Show me another step. Show me another step. And I'm like, no, 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 babe. Like,
Yeah.
your walk to the cross, the ocho, we're good.
Yep.
Let's keep going. Like,
Yep.
hold me, pause a little, change weight, we're good.
Yes. Yeah. I think that
Really mean it.
and now same thing leading. I feel limited in my vocabulary, right? And I feel that itch to know more. And because my vocabulary, I'm not doing tons of fancy things. Uh, I I hear on the back end when I'm dancing with other follows that are also learning to lead, and they're like, "Oh, your vocabulary is so big," and I'm like,
You're like,
"What
I
are you
don't know
talking
you.
about? We just walked. That's all we did. We walked. I think I might have led one ocho, and we walked the whole time.
Yes.
But it's because I'm already familiar with the music, so I am gonna put some musicality into it, and I think that piece of like, I think I listened to the music in the very beginning. And that was one of the best things that I did is in the car, I listened to the music. At home, I listened to the music. I listened actively while I was watching. I wasn't preoccupied with other things. And I think that was a really great thing to do in the beginning. But I think the thing that I would want to know is that you don't always have to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries are great. If somebody feels like they're being inappropriate, they probably are. And it's okay to, in that instance, say no and maybe even just push them out completely, ignore them. If like I was never in a place where I felt unsafe. I was never in a place that I felt like somebody was like really inappropriate. But I definitely had some dances that made me uncomfortable. And I thought, oh, maybe sometimes that just is the way it is. And I wish I had known, like, no, no, I don't have to dance with that person again.
Yeah. And even more on that point, we know it's the cardinal sin if you're on the dance floor
To walk off.
You do not leave your partner.
But that's fine.
You can leave your partner.
Yeah.
If you truly feel uncomfortable,
Yes.
do not persist in that environment. On either side, leader or follower.
Mhm.
It's okay. And it doesn't mean that you have to be rude about it.
No.
But it just, and maybe if that person cares enough, they'll ask why. And then maybe we should be open and transparent enough to say why, because otherwise then they don't learn.
Yes.
But this is we're talking in extreme cases. If you really, and you can tell people's intentions come through in their body can't lie.
Yeah.
And if you feel it, you can say, listen, I don't feel, maybe if you want to give them a chance, I don't feel comfortable with how this is going. Can we just back it off by doing X, Y, or Z things? I don't feel comfortable with your hand here. Like, can we, if it still doesn't, or they're like, oh no, come on, it's just tango. Then you can say, you know what, I think maybe it's better if you found someone else. And I don't know the best words to use. Maybe ask ChatGPT how to do this nicely, but
yes. Or talk to the other women. I think like for in that space when you're like, oh, this,
that right?
That was talk to the other women
or men as well.
Or or men.
If you're whichever role you're in, talk to someone of that similar role in case they might have experienced that. And
yes,
especially someone who's a little bit more experienced, so they can at least help you gauge. Oh yeah, no, don't go near that person.
Yes, I do think in DC we've done a decent job of kind of like we're not trying to make the space welcoming to people that want to be inappropriate, and because there is something that happens in tango where older creepy people come in looking for new beginners. And I don't think it's ever healthy in a community for the community to be like, oh, it's just the old creepy guy that looks for the beginners. No, I think it is all of our duty to say, hey, you're new here. This person is routinely inappropriate. I would recommend not dancing with them.
Mhm.
I think that is totally fine. And I think we have done this job in the recent years. I think we'll continue doing this job. But I know when I started, that wasn't necessarily the case. I think there was quite a lot of, oh, she's going to learn, and I think we need to make the space here that that's not going to be the culture here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And the same can be said for the reverse. There are also, especially if you're a leader, leaders do get taken advantage of sometimes.
Yes. Or chased down.
Or chased down or touched because people just think, especially if it's a male leader, people just assume, oh, they'll be fine with it. They'll take it. Don't take it.
No.
Find someone. If you see us in the Milonga,
Find
and tell
us. Find us.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll protect you.
And if you say no, I think a good firm no. I mean, I have no qualms if somebody walks up to me that did not try to cabeceo me, that I do not know, that is not a friend of mine. If they ask me verbally, that's a hard, fast no, just because I don't consider it polite. And we'll talk about the codes, the códigos later. I think we definitely have to talk about cabeceo. But in general, if there's somebody in the space and that's what they're doing and we're not having a conversation before a chattiseo, if you will, then I think that that's probably just impolite. And I feel like they're probably not going to respect the rest of the codes, right?
Yeah.
So say no. Just get used to saying no if you need to say no. And as a community, we can all work toward a space that is safe for everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's some logistical things maybe too. I wish I had known early on, and especially even before that first class, shoes matter.
Yeah.
I know we say, oh, just come in, it's just walking. No, you need to be able to comfortably pivot on the floor.
Yes.
Because if you can't pivot well, it's gonna make the movements harder for you. Then you're gonna feel more frustrated.
Yeah.
Wear shoes that you can pivot on the floor. Bring
or the little sock things. The little sock things.
Always have at least like a shoe sock or just
which I have a box of those, so people can always can always borrow them.
Yeah. I always have like 2 pairs of shoes, one for sticky floor, one for slippery floor.
Yeah,
because you just never know.
Yeah.
And clothes do matter too. How you feel. There's 2 aspects to it. I think it's wearing clothes that will further your goals of what it is that you're trying to experience. I want to feel confident. I want to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And every now and then I want to feel sexy.
Yeah.
And wear the clothes to it adds, or sometimes I want to feel flowy. So I wear a flowy
I like
skirt.
to feel flowy.
And I just want that type of vibe. My movements change. My the way I step changes versus if I wear like a fitted skirt.
Yeah.
It all plays into your mood, right? And
even if I'm dancing with a leader, I can tell if I'm wearing a big flowy skirt. They're doing all of the ochos and all of the movements that are going to get that skirt. And I can tell that they're enjoying it. And sometimes I get those comments that are like, oh, the skirt, this is cool. Right. So yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But whatever that is feeling for you, right? Even also for the guys.
Or even the tango pants.
Yes. Now I think pants are in style for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes even I love wearing my jacket, my blazer when I'm leading. It just makes me feel like, yes, here I am. So whatever it is, be more intentional about how you show up visually.
Yes.
How you want to be perceived.
Yeah. And maybe invest in deodorant.
Maybe we should have an entire section on this.
I think we might need a dance hygiene, a whole dance hygiene. Yeah.
This is a tough one because I think if people knew, okay, there's the camp where maybe the breath is not that great, the body odor is not that great because of maybe where you came from. Maybe it's been a long day, you haven't spoken a lot, you didn't eat much, whatever it is. You're aware and you try to find gum. You try to just go.
You try to mitigate it.
That's cool. I think the challenging part is when people are not aware.
Yes.
How do you communicate that? Because you want to create this safe space for everybody, but also you want to make sure that person isn't being turned down because of that reason,
Yeah.
right? And that can be a very sensitive topic to touch
Well,
on.
and we're in close embrace.
And you're in
so
close embrace. It's the idea of mindfulness. Again, I know we've talked a lot about the experience of the other person. It's not just what am I getting out of Tango?
Yeah.
Out of Tango. If you have that in mind, hopefully all of these things come together. But please,
Yeah.
folks, bring.
Well, and it's not just like bad breath, body odor. It's perfume. It's
sometimes it's too
cologne.
much perfume. Too much
Sometimes
cologne.
I come home from a milonga and I smell like a person I danced with because there was so much cologne. And for me, it triggers migraines. So like that 100% is a reason I don't dance with some people, right? Like we'll have
I
to
actually wear a lot of long sleeve shirts or something that covers my
Yeah.
arm because I'm so cautious of sweat on the leader's arm.
I know.
And if I'm wearing something that exposes my armpit, I will actually lift. It's more
Yeah.
comfortable. I'll lift my arm up for as long as I can and like wipe in between because it's like I've seen the guys
Yeah.
with like the sweat patch here, and I don't know, John. I'm sure you can relate to this as well, or maybe not because of the height difference.
No, but you know what? Sometimes lipstick ends up on his shirt. The lipstick.
Yeah. Yeah. That I mean, I don't really, it doesn't really bother me. I'm used to, we're dancing close embrace, people get sweaty. For sure, there have been times when I'm getting sweaty and it's like, oh, I'm gonna drip on her. This is awful. So I'm personally, I'm okay, and I appreciate that women tolerate the bodily functions that are happening.
Yeah. I appreciate when people that know that they're sweaters bring additional shirts.
Yes.
Right.
And they'll change.
And they'll change. Or they bring a handkerchief to sop up because
Okay.
Go
ahead, finish.
I was dancing
I'm
with
already having PTSD.
I was dancing with a guy and I'm so sorry. But we were dancing and I could see in my peripheral vision that there was sweat. And it was just hanging on the nose, and I was like, "It's gonna drip! It's gonna drip on me!"
Oh, haven't you had the one where like the sweat also comes on you, and then you're like, "Wait, I'm only sweating in this one."
Yes. So like the handkerchief is so appreciated.
Okay, but there's a caveat to the handkerchief.
Okay,
fellas, women, whoever uses handkerchief, this is for your skin and your skin only.
Oh yes,
I have had someone.
No.
I can't.
Wait, really?
I have had someone after they wiped their face, then reach and wipe my face.
Oh no!
I almost died. I was in shock. I was an idiot. I kept dancing with him. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, did that just happen? Did this guy just wipe his handkerchief on my face?
No. Oh.
I'm sorry. Maybe it was like a one-time thing.
Okay, so that's a good hard fast rule. Your handkerchief is your own.
Okay. All right. Well, wow, that's a lot. I'm the give the people benefit of the doubt. Maybe they were like, oh, I left a lot of sweat on her forehead and I want to get it off, kind of a thing, and it just didn't register what he was doing.
They just weren't thinking.
Yeah.
They just reacted, and I was just like,
yeah, no, let's not. That's gross.
Okay.
But anyways, aside from that,
Yes.
I think, and wearing clothes that breathe, being mindful of clothes. Maybe if you sweat a lot, it might show. Like all these things can play into your mood, can play into how you feel you're being perceived. So just, whatever your goal is, just dress for that and come prepared.
Yeah. And I think I think it's good for beginners or new dancers to know to come into it without expectations. I think like you never know who's coming in an evening, right? Unless you're pinging all of the people that you have met and you know they're going to be there, you really don't know. So you can't have an expectation that you're going to go and dance the entire night, right? I think the only expectation that you want to have is like, you're coming to this space, tango music is going to play. Hopefully tango music is going to play. I guess you actually don't know that depending on the DJ. But like, and we hope it's going to be friendly. But we do have to release expectations. You cannot control anything outside of yourself and your reactions to your emotions, right? So I think that that's a really big one.
Yeah.
So set boundaries, dress for the
Yes.
part. Dress
Lower.
like, not to say you need to go buy a bunch of stuff. You don't need to go buy a bunch of
Correct.
stuff.
Correct.
But like when you know you're going to dance, invest in some shoes. Like that's a good investment to make, and wear breathable clothing.
Yes.
And know that like, I mean, there are people that show up in like sports shirts, but like we're all coming together to dance. I personally like to dress up because I want to feel nice, but I'm not going to place expectations on other people.
Yeah.
I would love if everybody dressed up though. I mean, and now we have, at least we can encourage people at Abrazo and say like, oh, we want to do a sequin night. Like, come
Right.
dress the part, you know, and we try to do that. But again, we can't expectations, you
Yeah.
know, so yeah.
There was a thing I wanted to add is that whatever role that you come into the class expecting to play, whether it's leader or follower, definitely be open to
Oh yeah.
doing the other
Yes.
side.
Yes.
Tango is so very different on the other side, and lately I've been following Melody, and I really enjoy it. And we talked about how you don't need to do that many moves to really have a good time, and being on the other side, it's much clearer why that is the case. Like I'm not really thinking about what moves I'm doing. I'm just trying to follow, and that in and of itself is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very true. I wish that I had started leading before. And I think in my mind, I thought, oh, I have to get to a certain point
Yeah.
before I can. I do wish that I had done both at the same
Learn.
time, because I love both of them for very, very different
Yeah.
reasons.
I mean, I've heard some arguments about whether or not you should do it both at the same time in the beginning or spaced out. I don't know the science behind it, but when you can, as you can, it's great because it opens you up to experiencing other things. But more importantly, you understand more what is needed for that role.
Yes.
And then you can translate that back into your role. Like, I think my following increased so much more. My sensitivity to following increased when I started leading, and I started to actually feel, oh, actually, when the followers put their arms down, it actually weighs heavy. And and all these cool things I thought I was doing, it's actually quite distracting.
Yes. Yeah.
Things that I just wasn't registering that you wouldn't think because nobody
Yeah.
ever says anything.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
And even like, I think as a follow, we're working to try to be able to follow all of the different styles, all of the different leads, right? But I think the one thing I'm picking up as a lead is that like I might have taken this class, but this person I'm dancing with might not be ready for this. That's so I need to gauge where they are, and I think that is a really beautiful lesson to learn. So, all right, any last minute? I know we're being told our podcast is too long, so
I feel like though, also we already had the wrap. Did he change the text?
no, he added that.
No? Okay.
He
It's a new
We're-
wrap it up.
We're getting, just
Got
for
it.
those that don't see it, because it's off camera,
John
we get a
messed it
message that says wrap it up, wrap it up.
It
So
feels like it was also in the John, this is a new notes. Are you sure?
because we could talk about this all day. But I do want to know from the people listening. I want to know, like, if you're years into it, what was that beginning journey like? What was being a new dancer, being in a new space? What motivated you? What kept you going? I think that is so valuable, building a community. And then if you are a newer dancer, like, what are you finding joy in? What's the challenge? Like, is it welcoming? Is it inclusive? Are you having a good experience?
Yeah.
And if you've already experienced like a little road bump, what's gotten you through it? I want to know. So
Agree.
yeah.
I think as new joiners, people new to the community, you can don't have expectations when it comes to the Milonga, but definitely have high expectations of the people that is
yes.
creating the space, and tell us when you don't feel like spaces are being
Yes.
created that you want to be a part of.
Absolutely.
And put the onus on us. Sorry, all organizers out there. Now we have to.
But it is
It is
true.
on us.
I think it is on us. People are giving us their money
Yes, and their trust.
for a specific type of experience. We need to. It is our responsibility to make that space wonderful and to try to at least create connections and make it inclusive. So
Agreed.
absolutely have high expectations of us, but just don't have expectations of everybody else that is in that space that paid to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let us know. Share.
Yeah.
as always, we're
Like and
open to
subscribe.
questions.
Yes. Yes. And I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to Staying Grounded. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and spread the word. We'll catch you next time.